first thing we're going to do, since these are small notes, is fold it in half. Okay, we are first going to talk about linear perspective.
Are we supposed to be doing this with pen?
No, I am doing it in pen so you can see it. Linear perspective. What does linear mean?
Up and down.
Having to do with lines, okay? So linear perspective is when you use lines to create that illusion of space, okay? So you're using lines somehow to create the illusion of depth / space on a flat surface. Okay, so for example, a drawing or a painting. There are different kinds of linear perspective, and it all depends on how many vanishing points you're using. Okay, so if you use one vanishing point, it's called 1 point perspective. Some of you guys may have learned this last year or the year before. Today we're going to be focusing on 2 point perspective, which uses 2 vanishing points. And if you really want some kind of artwork to look like you've used a wide angle lens or something like on a camera, with some extra little distortion, there is such a thing as 3 point perspective using 3 different vanishing points. We will not be learning about that one, but it does exist. Okay, so we're going to focus on 2 point perspective. So I'm going to draw a little arrow from 2 point perspective. Okay, and really all we need to kind of add to this, since it already is linear perspective, is that it uses 2 vanishing points. All right, so you guys have this whole empty space right here. We are going to use this to draw our example of 2 point perspective. Okay, so kind of in the middle here, in the middle of your remaining space, not the middle of the page, you want to draw a horizontal line. Okay, horizontal meaning left to right.
Okay.
So this is called the horizon line. This is basically where our eyeballs see. So I'm going to add a little eyeball here. You guys should be so good at drawing an eyeball. Okay, this is basically where eyeballs are. Our perspective of sight. Okay, now on the horizon line is where your vanishing points are located. We'll have 2 different vanishing points at both ends. So one on that end and one on this end. Vanishing points are the points that all of the lines and objects slowly vanish into. They tell our objects how quickly they need to get smaller as they get farther away. Okay, so in ink, I'm going to label these 2 things. So I have the horizon line. Okay, it is horizontal. Look at that, the word horizon is in there. Okay, horizon line. This is where our eye level is. Okay, that is that line. And then we have our vanishing points. I'm going to put /s because there's 1 point perspective, which just uses 1. But this is where the lines disappear into. So the vanishing points tell us how small objects need to become as they get farther away. Your arrows, I would just make sure that they're not really in the middle of the vanishing points. Make sure they are on the outsides of the vanishing points. All right. So if this is our eye line, we are going to draw one object above. Just draw a vertical line floating above. We're going to have a vertical line in the middle, going over the line, and then we're going to have another line below the line. So remember, we're going to be turning these little lines into boxes. So this box I'll be able to see underneath since my eyes are below it. This box I won't see the top or the bottom, just the sides. And then this box, because my eyes are above it, I'll be able to see the top of the box. So in this example, okay, this is showing you 1 point perspective, 2 point perspective, and 3 point perspective. So if you look at 1 point, the vanishing point is here on the horizon line. Now if you look at these objects, you have to start with like a square. You have to start with a flat object, and then you connect the end points of that object to the vanishing point to create those lines that show how small it needs to get as it gets farther away. Now look at 2 point. Which part of the object is closest to you? The corner, okay? A side, which is why we're starting with a line. So once we get this point, we're going to connect both the top and the bottom to both vanishing points, which I will show you. You have to start there. So our picture will kind of look similar to this, but we will have 3 boxes, okay? 3 point perspective is basically just like 2, but it adds 1 extra dimension, which distorts the scale and proportion of the objects even more. All right, so we are going to start by making this box. So in 2 point perspective, we're starting on the corner. We have a top point and a bottom point. Both of these, you're going to very lightly connect them to both vanishing points using your ruler. Okay, that is how we're going to start. Make sure you line it up. We're not going to keep all of this line, which is why I say make it light. It will not look like a box at first. The one that's really far away, you can connect it all the way if you want, but you do not need to. So the next part is now we have to figure out how big these sides we want them to be, and we're going to cut them off, okay? So staying parallel to this first vertical line, you are going to decide how big or how wide you want your box to be, okay? And you're going to kind of cut it off. I'm going to make these points. You don't have to make those points, but it just kind of helps you see where I have kind of stopped this face. And I'm going to do that to the same thing, do the same thing on the left side. Okay, keeping it vertical, parallel to that first corner, you're going to figure out where you want to cut it off. You do not have to make these extra little points. I am just doing so it's easier for you to see where my figure is that I am creating. This is where it gets confusing because remember how I said my eyes are on this line? So I'm going to see the bottom of this box. How you create the bottom of this box, you still have to use those lines. This point is already connected to this vanishing point. So now I need to connect it to the one it's not. I really only have to go as wide as my box I'm creating, but it doesn't really matter. If you want to go all the way, that's cool. We're just going to end up erasing more of these lines that we don't need. Then you're going to do that to the same side on, or to the same point on the other side. So it's already connected to this vanishing point. You're going to connect it to the one it's not, okay? And where those lines intersect is your very last visible corner of your box. Okay, box 2 is going to be the easiest, probably. Just to help you not get confused with all of these lines, though, I'm going to do us both a favor and erase all these extra lines that I don't need, at least a little bit, so they're not in my way, okay? Yeah. Okay, so on the second box, we're going to make it look like it's behind this first box that we created. That means as soon as I'm connecting anything to the vanishing point, if I hit any object that I have previously created, it just stops, okay? So what I mean by that is when I connect this top to this left vanishing point, I'm not going to draw it through the object I just finished. I'm just going to stop as soon as I meet the box there, okay? Now, this one, our eyes are in the middle of the box, so I'm not going to see the top and I'm not going to see the bottom. That is why this one's just a little bit easier. So you're going to connect those points to both vanishing points. And then you're going to cut these off just like you cut the last ones off. This one, though, because I want you to make it look like it's behind this previous box, make sure that you're putting your last vertical line kind of going behind this box, so you can actually see that one is overlapping the other. All right, now this last box is my smallest because my line is the smallest. Now because my eyes are here, I'm going to see the top of this box. And I may even put it in front of this box here, okay? So again, just like everything else, you start with the two sides, connecting it to the vanishing point. I'm not going to go all the way. I'm just going to stop where I'm like, I feel like I only want my box to be about that big, okay? This is a skill I want you guys to develop too. So you don't always need to connect it to the vanishing point because then you're just going to have a ton of lines that are confusing that you don't need. Just go, I want my box to maybe be about that big, okay? And then you're going to do that on the other side. Now that we have the front faces of this box, I'm going to decide exactly how big I want these sides to be. So I'm going to just find a spot to cut them off, keeping your lines parallel to your front edge, which is a vertical line. I'm going to go ahead and just mark these tiny little points to help me know where I need to connect things for the top of the box. So, just to remind you, because this point was already connected to this vanishing point, I have to draw a line the width of my box. I just need to draw it no longer than this side of my box. Same with this point. This point was already connected to that vanishing point. So now I'm going to connect it to the other one. And I just stop as soon as I cross the line I just made. Okay, that makes my last little corner. And then now I'm going to erase all lines that I do not need. Okay, through the middle box, you probably have a vanishing point that we don't, or a horizon line that we don't want to see. Okay, since this box, you could erase this chunk here and make it look like it's behind the box, or you could erase these two lines and that line and make it look like it's in front of the box, in the middle. I'm going to make it look like it's in front so I can see more of the top. Okay, and once you kind of get those interior lines erased, you can really see how those boxes are overlapping each other a lot better. Okay, I would like you to at least go over your boxes with fine tip Sharpie. If you want to leave some of your lines that show that they're going to the vanishing points, that's fine. Also, though, I want the horizon line behind the boxes in ink and the vanishing points, okay? But like I said, if you want to leave some of these lines that extend to the vanishing points in pencil that you did not erase, that is fine.